Good afternoon and hello everyone. Amidst all the conversations that we're having today is about e-commerce, which has been grabbing headlines, especially in the light of the recent crisis. My name is Rishika Bhatia, and as SME 10X, it's our pleasure to be joining hands with a partner, Easy Dubai E-commerce Zone, part of the logistics district at Dubai South, to host today's session. So as the economy opens up in a measured manner, businesses are adjusting their models to adapt to the long-standing changes in consumer behavior, which is actually tilting quite heavily in favor of going completely digital and towards an internet-enabled ecosystem. This means that e-commerce or online commerce has come to the forefront, and we're seeing varying degrees of impact that the e-commerce industry is having across different industry verticals. Today's session is to take a closer look at this impact, and to shed light on this, we have an expert joining us who's very much at the front lines of the e-commerce space, having worked very closely with SMEs and enterprises in helping them transition over the last couple of months. But before we get into that, during today's session, we also hope to understand what your business is going through. And for that, we have put a survey together. We will be sharing the link to this survey at the end of this session. So we request you all to please share your insights with us. We will also be taking questions live across social media. So please do share your questions for our expert. And hopefully we'll be able to answer them all. So let's start, and let me introduce our expert for today, Soliman, Managing Director, Middle East of Network International. Samer, over to you.
Thank you, Roshika. I would like to thank Mr. Mohsen Ahmed, the CEO of Easy Dubai, and Mr. Nadeem Hood, the CEO of SME 10X, for sponsoring and organizing this event. I'm the managing director of Network International Middle East, and for the benefit of everyone, Network International is the largest payment enabler in Middle East and Africa, and we are the largest acquirer here in the local market in the UAE and a processor for multiple banks across the region. We process for more than 220 banks in Middle East and Africa. Let me start with highlighting the impact of the COVID-19 and where does this help the businesses transform from a traditional brick and mortar business into an e-commerce and the rising needs from this community. But before I go there, I would like to share with you key areas that all the businesses started looking at once the pandemic was introduced. As an organization, we have, in response to the pandemic, we have focused on 5 main strands. The first one is the well-being of our employees and our customers. This was our priority number 1. We were all working remotely and abiding by the social distancing to ensure that we break the chain in terms of transmitting any pandemic. We have also been in business continuity mode, and we were able to meet all our SLAs with our clients across the region. And I'm proud to say that we've got a lot of appreciation from our clients on that basis. We were working closely also with our suppliers and our partners to ensure that we are able to continue serving our customers. We have freed up a lot of capacity to ensure that we reprioritize and refocus our efforts towards what's needed by the market during this difficult time. And here, a very good initiative, and I think a lot of the government and the UAE have introduced a lot of stimulus packages and support packages for SME businesses, and they were the most impacted by the COVID-19. When you talk about the SME, majority of them had no presence online. They had only physical stores where they conducted their business. So as an organization, as a responsible organization in the community, we introduced a stimulus package where we provided for 1,000 merchants, each 3,700, and these are the most impacted one. To help them also go online, we have waived off the merchant service fees for a period of 3 months and any minimum fees that would be needed to support that. We have seen a significant appreciation from the market, and we're looking forward for these businesses to restart again. Um, Talking about the significant impact on the consumer behavior when it comes to the pandemic, this impact was across the world. But here in the UAE, in response to this stay-at-home measures, and the businesses has adapted to consumers placing orders online. We targeted our support directly to help these businesses. In the UAE in specific, e-commerce have grown by 50% during the past couple of months post the pandemic. But at Network, we have grown 62%. And we have seen an increase on the number of transactions of more than 180% compared to the prior periods. And this is basically driven by different industries and this different segments. Not as a secret, everyone is aware that pharmacies, healthcare, and supermarkets have seen a significant growth in their volumes due to the pandemic, but government services, computer and software services, and restaurants and food delivery have also seen an improvement in their volumes on that side. One key takeaway from this is the fact that restaurants and food delivery have found it actually more effective to deliver food online rather than having a space to serve, and the cost of operating an F&B operation online is much more effective. The second part that we started looking at, or we have identified as a need in the market, that these SMEs to go online, they needed, in addition to the existing trade license they've got, they needed a website, they needed a web developer, they needed a mobile app to operate, a payment partner, an integration partner, and perhaps a warehouse to stock and manage their inventory, in addition to a logistics partner who could able to deliver the service. This was one of the major challenges the SMEs have seen in this market. But entities like Easy Dubai, the e-commerce zone of Dubai South, provided the required support given the infrastructure they provided and the capabilities they have provided. And we have partnered with them to offer the payments service to the customers. In addition to this, we have introduced a solution called Pay by Link. And Pay by Link is basically, if you are an SME, had a brick and mortar store, you did not need to develop a website. What you do is that we provide you a capability where you have a branded link that goes to a customer, and the customer can conduct the payment directly without having to develop a website or a shopping cart. Just pay by link, where you have the amount and the value, and it is operating. The fact that this is built on our Ingenious platform, which is the local gateway that we have developed with global standards, enabled it to serve a lot of the customers. One of the main features that gave advantage to our customers is the fact that it supports the local language, Arabic language, here in the UAE. I want to touch up on 5 main trends that are facing the e-commerce space currently and post-COVID. I think I'll start with the QR and the WhatsApp commerce. There is a big demand towards QR code and WhatsApp commerce. QR code acceptance is becoming more and more important because businesses and cost has become a critical component to businesses. So methods of acceptance like QR code became more relevant, given that there is no requirement for a capex investment for a POS terminal to start acceptance using QR code. The second one is the WhatsApp commerce. We have seen an uptick on the WhatsApp commerce. So a lot of aggregators started introducing chat box payment methods, and we have seen an uptick there. And a lot of this is based on data. So predictive analysis towards customer behavior and triggering customer behavior and driving customer behavior using data is influencing consumers to shop online at the right time. Marketplaces as well have seen a significant improvement, but the shift that is coming in is that marketplaces today started looking at becoming also a logistics partner. So they are looking at expanding in the value chain to provide logistics. At the same time, logistics players started to expand on the value chain to create marketplace to promote the customer's product. So there is an expansion on the value chain on this area, and it is quite interesting to see where is it going. Organizations like Aramex, Noon, and Amazon.com, they are expanding from their core business to additional channels to make sure that they serve their customers and become more effective. The promise to the customer of serving them in the right time is another area that is becoming more and more important. Mobile commerce, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. The adoption of mobile is improving day by day. The utilization of mobile in this market is improving day by day. The key amongst all of this is the omni-channel, and here I think the platform that supports omni-channel will be the winning platform long term, and our investments towards an omni-channel platform is the future, and we believe that this capability will serve our clients on the longer term. So, what will the world look post COVID-19? In my view, in the long term, I think shoppers started going back to malls, though not at the same level as before, and I don't think it will ever go back to the same level as it was before, with online habits having become more and more routine for consumers. The e-commerce retailers will be on a higher spree. So as much as we can see job losses in certain industries, I think the e-commerce retailers will start hiring more. Logistics players will start hiring more. The opportunities that will come out of that to the logistics world and delivery services to cater for the need is huge, and I think this is substantial, and there is a way, there is an advancement on that area. I believe that the increased popularity of touchless payments as well is going to be introduced utilizing e-commerce capabilities, and the biometric payments is going to be on the spree as well. So I'm expecting a lot of new innovations there. The pattern of shopping will permanently be changed post COVID-19, not just online. Even when you go to the stores, the pattern will be different. There are other new business models that evolved post the pandemic, and I'm seeing a lot of opportunity there. Autonomous delivery is one of the areas that I think we have not seen a lot of it yet in this market, but I think this is an area that will see a significant advancement. Remote fitness is another industry that started advancing during the COVID-19, and post the COVID-19, and in the current times, even when the gyms opened, we see that there is a lot of adoption towards that. Telemedicine from day one of COVID-19, we have seen a big adoption towards it, given that the patients did not want to go to hospitals on the fear of being infected by COVID-19. So there are lots of new business models that are evolved. A significant opportunity for consolidation in the market is expected, and the platform that can support all of this, I think, is the winning proposition going forward. The Middle East market continues to be a significant opportunity and very attractive in terms of e-commerce, and organizations and the government here is working towards enabling commerce longer term. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your time today, and I would like to move back to Rushika for our Q&A session. Thank you, Rushika.
All right, Samer, thank you so much for your insights. That was a great session. I think you gave us, food for thought in terms of where we're headed. So before we get into the audience Q&A, I'd like to kind of kickstart our discussion with a question from my end. Something that I wanted to ask you is, you talked a lot about, businesses within the e-commerce and retail space. But there's also been a lot of discussion around the supply chains themselves, and there's a discussion around how certain supply chains are fractured and they need work. They need to evolve with technology and they need to be improved, and that's come to light, especially with the recent crisis. What are your thoughts on this?
I believe that the supply chain has been disrupted and will continue to be disrupted as we go through this. And the second point is that a lot of efficiencies will come into play. One of the key areas is, for example, if we expand the supply chain and make sure that we have an efficient supply chain, what we need to do is look at reducing interaction and reducing steps in the process, and this will drive a lot of changes in the supply chain. I think you can see it in the expansion of noon to deliver to your home at the same day. Amazon have done the same thing in certain areas. They commit to deliver to you within 1 hour. So they take control of the supply chain to make sure that they fulfill a promise to the customers. So as the competition continues to evolve in this market, I think that the supply chain will be shrunk, and the ownership or the control over the supply chain will be consolidated with a good promise, with a great promise to the end consumer and fulfillment of that as well.
Absolutely. Great. So just jumping into a question that has come online. The question asks, are certain industries or product categories, so for example, grocery, personal care items, looking at a slightly more favorable outlook than the others?
Well, I believe that when we went into COVID, there was a certain setup of customers. Going forward, it will be different. I think electronics and healthcare will continue to be winners longer term. I think aggregating supermarkets and small pharmacies into big platforms and providing and managing the supply chain for those will grow that business. It will have a positive impact on it, but the leaders by far I'm expecting to continue to be electronics and healthcare, in addition to the essential services being food delivery and government services. Because remember, the government in the UAE have enabled all the digital capabilities during the lockdown, and post the lockdown now people are preferring to use the digital capabilities to conduct or to conduct their services rather than having to go to a government entity.
Superb. So this was actually a two-part question, and the second part of the question asks, we're seeing a lot of traditional e-commerce players venture out into the essential items category, like you just mentioned. Is this something that every e-commerce business needs to be thinking about? Because we're seeing a lot of people diversify into, creating personal care items or healthcare items.
I think it's an evolution and it's an interest to serve and continue to support the customer. The move to online, first of all, is a must. It's no more luxury. The expansion and the taking control and ownership of the customer and the customer behavior is the future. And this is where I think data analytics and predicting consumer behavior is becoming more and more important, because if I have a captive audience or a captive customer base, I would like to serve them. And online, it's totally different to physical store. Online gives you the flexibility to venture into other domains by partnerships, and that is much easier because you don't need to invest in physical infrastructure and what have you. That's why I think the winner in this domain is the partner who owns the customer base. What service they offer these customers becomes an easier problem to solve longer term.
So, Samer, I also wanted to talk to you a little bit more about online payments and contactless payments, because obviously that's a huge conversation, right? And it's very much what you're focusing on at the moment. So, I have a couple of questions coming in around the online payment, topic. So, one question that's come in is, as an SME, how can I reach out to Network International to help me? What are the resources available to me if I'm looking to create an e-commerce platform?
Absolutely, Roshika. So this is a simple answer. As part of the package we have given our customers during the pandemic, what we offered is a free onboarding to our Engineers platform, which is a flexible, secure, and resilient platform developed locally here in the market, and free MSF for a period of 3 months, which enables them to transition to online. But this is for customers who've got websites and the other capabilities and the rest of the value chain. We have also introduced pay by link, and customers. And this is a customer not present payment option, and we have invested a lot to facilitate this proposition. For this, you don't need a website, you don't need nothing. You just enter an amount, and it sends a link to the consumer where he pays using his card, and you get an alert for that, and payment hits your account immediately. And of course, above all, I think our partnership with Easy Dubai, the e-commerce platform, enables also merchants who wants to go online, because they created a platform where it have supply chain capability, where it have an inventory and storage capability. They have created an amazing platform for SMEs actually to go online, and we are a payment partner at the end of it to enable them.
So, Samer, another question that's come in, and this is quite an interesting question. And if you allow me, I'm going to put you a bit on the spot. The question asks: you are seeing a lot of new online payment options coming in by startups coming in with a fresh take on online payments. How does that disrupt the online payment and retail sector?
Well, there are two types. Everyone is into fintech right now. A lot of payment platforms are being introduced, but the reality is, if you look at the core of it, there are three main platforms that are operating in this market. So as a main player in this market, we support fintechs. We support partnering with great ideas that adds more value to consumers. So there are lots of companies that are in the market today, and we are supporting a lot of them as well to grow in the market, as long as they utilize or they add more value to the customers. And here there are some players who helps merchants to integrate, and they use us as a payment platform. There are others who gives a great user experience and expand in the value chain in terms of cash register solution, accounting solution, and other solutions, but still integrate to us in terms of payment platform. Because end of day, payment platforms are quite important to be resilient and strong, and served properly. We have done a significant investment to create a secure and reliable platform in the market that supports the market needs, and enabling fintech startups to be part of the payment ecosystem is part of our strategy. So we are partnering with a lot of them.
Super. I think, Samer, I have a question that's coming in through our social media channel from Dave, and he asks, I'm a typical SME looking to get an e-commerce site built, and I want to start accepting online payments. Where do I start? And, what are the next steps?
My advice to him is basically start with pay by link, because this does not require you to develop a website. Test the customer base, and this will be an interim solution till you develop your website. I think there is a group of specialized partners that we work with as well that could support you in developing your website, integration needs, and logistic needs. I can take him at a second level towards that. But to start with, I think pay by link is a very good and convenient solution, less investment from his side in terms of website and what have you. He can test the business and then move into the next phase, given the importance of cost at this point of time. And all of us have seen the priority of cost coming up in terms of organization decisions and SMEs over the past couple of months.
So, Samir, I'm just going to stop you there and ask you a question as well. I think you emphasized earlier on in your presentation that the government is doing a lot to kind of support the e-commerce sector, and we're seeing a lot of changes in their in that they're giving SMEs everything that they need to move to digital. When it comes to online payments, are there any changes in regulations for for easing the setup of online payments?
So in terms of online payments, I didn't. What we saw is that there are three key needs for each customer. Each client who wants to start doing business, he's looking for one thing, which is to enable payment. He doesn't care if it's online, if it's physical, what have you. It happens that online or e-commerce or mobile m-commerce became the focus area because this was the only way to conduct business for the past couple of months, and it will continue to grow. The evolution is there. So the first thing is, it's secure. Can I fulfill the promise of payment? This is the first part, which is now the regulations are really supporting the merchant community towards that. The second thing is, from a capability perspective, are there platforms that can support that? And I think Easy Dubai comes with a platform that supports SME on that, and Dubai SME as well is working on a platform to support SMEs. Licensing requirements have dropped significantly, and a lot of support packages has been introduced, but the one that makes a significant difference is the one that creates a platform and enable merchants to move easily there. So that's why we have partnered with some of the fintechs that would enable an SME to onboard, run, and operate together with other partners in a matter of days. So there are a lot of investment on that side. There is a lot of support on that side, namely the trade license cost, the support cost, the government turnaround times for these initiatives is very efficient at this point of time.
That's great. No, that was a great response, Samir. Thank you. So just jumping back into audience Q&A, we have a few questions coming in talking about the overall e-commerce space again. So I have a question that is asked by Shivek Ranjan, and he asks, so should we say that brick and mortar business is completely dead now? What percentage of businesses will move online, and what percentage of business will still go through brick and mortar, especially when it comes to grocery stores or supermarkets, for instance?
Okay, so that's a very loaded question. Let me put it this way: no one have the magic stick to predict what happens in the future. But let me tell you my simple perspective. I am an online shopper. I do shopping online on everything that is pre-packaged. Everything that is fresh, I still go to the supermarket and buy, for example. So while brick and mortar will have less importance on the longer term, I think that there will still be a need for it, and I think it will be a luxury rather than a need. People will deal with it as a luxury. And what I want also to share with you is that online stores are moving to physical stores, and physical stores are moving to online stores. So retailers and business owners are trying to serve their customers with as many required channels as possible to serve the customers. So you see Amazon, they had their Amazon store now available. It's frictionless and it's easy. You've got retailers who did not ever want to touch online during the pandemic, moved online and moved really fast. I've seen, for example, organization paying their suppliers using online services rather than waiting for 90 days and managing their cash flow using online payment. So there will be less importance in certain areas in terms of physical stores, but online will gauge a lot of growth going forward. Still, remember one thing, in the region that we operate in, online and e-commerce is still on the lower end. So till date, less than 50% of the businesses that do operate in the market still operate online. The balance is still dependent on physical stores. So I'm expecting a continuous move towards an end state, which is a balanced approach between e-commerce and physical stores.
Thanks, Samer. So another question that's coming in is, and this is actually a really great question because we haven't touched upon this. Abdul Rahman asks, what do you think about the logistics aspect of things? How is the logistics sector set to grow?
I believe logistics based on robotics will drive a lot of the future of the business. During the pandemic, you would observe that delivery have been delayed compared to the normal state, and I think organizations have identified this as a significant opportunity going forward. So logistics using robotics, using drones, I think, and delivery using drones and robotics is gonna evolve and develop faster in the near future. Because one thing I believe is that when we face a challenge, we were not prepared for it, I think, and this is the biggest thing. That's why delivery of items took longer than what it was in the past. However, one thing I learned in the region is that when they identify a problem, they immediately work on it, and I think there is a lot of investments towards that, and this will transform in the mid to short to mid term.
Yeah. So, Samer, I have another question that asks, as a leader of payment solutions in the Middle East, what is your vision and future for digital currencies? Where do you think we're headed in terms of fintech and digital currencies? Some great questions coming in here.
Well, I love this question. So digital currencies has been an opportunity and is a significant opportunity that we've been watching closely over the past years. I think the growth in that area is, the potential growth in that area is significant. It's a need that could be fulfilled. There is a need for a digital currency that could be fulfilled in the market. However, the regulations are not yet published to regulate digital currency in the market that we are in right now. And there are draft regulations that are being made, but it's still not regulated by the central bank. That's why we did not touch this business. But if you see a significant opportunity in the business rather than the normal traditional business, I think digital currencies and cryptocurrencies in specific will have a significant opportunity going forward.
Great. So, Samer, I'm gonna try and squeeze in the last couple of questions that we have coming in, because I see a lot of questions coming in. One of the questions that we asked, that Mustafa asked, is around cyber security. So, for an SME that's already within the e-commerce space and has customers transacting, how can you improve your security, and what are some things you need to be thinking about?
One thing that security, we have to be aware of one thing. As much as security advances, as much as fraudsters advance in the way they attack or tackle security. So the amount of investments that is required to maintain security is significant. So my advice for SMEs in specific, in terms of security, outsource it to the reliable partners to do that, because you want to focus on your core business, give security to security specialists to run it. As an organization, what we provide for SMEs to support them on that side, when it comes to payment security, we have done significant investments in security and compliance related matters. So we have a huge team working on that. That's why we provided hosted solutions for our customers when it comes to payments. So instead of them hosting their web page, we host it on their behalf, and there we maintain the security. So my advice to SMEs when it comes to security, unless you are a security company, I think you rely on larger players who invest significantly on security to enable you to do payments.
So, Samer, a question just, to club on to that question. I have a question where Roger asks us, we're seeing other companies within the payment space partnering with mobile devices or companies such as Samsung to come up with contactless payment solutions, that are integrated into your mobile device. How soon can we see something like that within this region? Is your company looking into partnering with any such devices?
I can tell you that our gateway is fully mobile capable. We have pin on glass capability that is enabled in this area, and it supports both iOS and Android. So it supports Apple application and Android application. So it is a capability that is available online. However, if the question is relating converting a transaction into a card present transaction, which is a new advancement, I think this is an area that most of the payment players are looking at it, and a potential opportunity given the contactless adoption and the new payment methods that are coming in. But there is no standard offering at this point of time that is available in the market.
Okay, so Samer, just I think we have time for one or two last questions before we kind of get into the final, thoughts for today. I'm going to try and pick up this question coming in from Reda, who asks, how can SMEs get help with around the technology space and think about technologies that can help them grow their e-commerce business? I really like this question because it's talking about companies that already have existing e-commerce presence. How can they leverage technologies available to them today to move past the challenges that we're seeing with COVID-19, as well as to grow the business?
Thank you for the question. It's a really good question. And as you rightly mentioned, now you move to e-commerce. Post e-commerce, what happens? How can I increase the adoption and the customer experience through that? So the user experience is a key area on this side. So how to make it much easier for the customer to do a transaction online. And I'm talking about a transaction, I'm talking about from the time he accesses your website to the time he leaves the website. How easy is the customer journey and the process throughout this. The second point is how to leverage new technologies to attract traffic to the website. And I think one key area that is a potential significant business opportunity, I would say, is social media and influencers. How can I convert these into a population that leads business into certain websites? And I think this is an area that I don't see a lot of activity in at this point of time. I see influencers who go to their WhatsApp and they get paid from a shop to access and say, I've been there and what have you. But what we need to get to is at a state where an influencer can actually drive traffic into a certain website. And I think this is a significant opportunity in this market. I've seen one great entrepreneur who was thinking about this from Italy, but I've not seen it implemented in the market as of yet.
Superb. All right. So, Samer, I think we've managed to address all questions that are coming in. And in case we haven't answered your question, please do feel free to get in touch with us directly, and we will make sure that we respond to your question offline. Samer, thank you very much. Before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts, any parting words that you'd like to leave our audience today with?
I would like to leave the audience with one thought, is that we went into the pandemic with a situation where we are coming out of the pandemic with a totally different experience. This experience would require you to focus on online and digital experience, and the importance of those is becoming higher and higher. And the earlier you do it while the business is still starting to get back on its feet, the better it is. And developing strategies towards that is quite critical for all SMEs and businesses at this point of time.
Fantastic. Thank you, Samer. I think you did a great job of squeezing in a lot of insights in the short time that we had today. And I hope everyone that joined us found it insightful. A reminder to please share your insights with us through the survey link that you will receive after the session. And thank you all. Thank you, Samer, once again.
Thank you. Thank you, Rishika. Thank you. Have a good one. Take care.